The other thing we need to worry about is training our crew to collect the right samples. So our next speaker is Cindy Evans, and she'll be talking about the astronaut training. Here we go, Artemis astronaut training updates. Cindy, please take it away.
Okay, great. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear, thank you.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to give you an update on where we are with astronaut training, and I'm speaking on behalf of a team that includes myself and Trevor Graff at the Johnson Space Center, Kelsey Young, who's at Goddard, our headquarters colleagues, Jake and Sarah, and then our colleagues at the Johnson Space Center from FOD, Alex Kanalakos and Scott Ray. Next slide, please. So I think we've heard in multiple forums, including the science definition team, which I forgot to you put into this listing, as well as several LSSW papers and breakout sessions and a 2016 League Geologic Astronaut Training Special Action Team called the GATSAT. They all called out for requirements for a well-trained crew, and they reference the Apollo lessons. So including the geoscience and field training for the crew very early in the flow, integrated simulations in the relevant field environments, cross-training and field training for flight operators and engineers and managers. So we wanted to let you know that there's a NASA team of planetary and field geologists who are already integrated with the Flight Operation Division Training Office and also with the Crew Office. And this includes more than 10 years of close collaboration and coordination with the Crew Office and the training offices. And we've been focusing over the past 10 years on training the astronaut candidates, the new classes when they come in, training the crew for ISS Earth observations. We do have well-established mechanisms for including external scientists. And we have plans underway to integrate the fundamental geological sciences, lunar science, planetary processes, and field operations into the Artemis training flow for crew and the supporting operations staff. So I'm going to talk about all of that. Now, I know that there was a question in the chat regarding some of this, so I believe that we'll be answering that question pretty directly. Next slide, please. Okay, so because we do partner so closely with our EVA training colleagues, they have a three-phase training model that starts with the astronauts just as they're selected and come in as a class during their astronaut candidacy to give them the basic skills, provide proficiency training until they are assigned to a mission, and then they have mission-specific training. So we've used that model because it also helps, it makes a lot of sense, and it helps to integrate with their training flow. If we go to the next slide, please. So our model for Artemis planetary science training has this three phases. We do have a pretty well-established training during astronaut candidacy. It's a 2-year flow. It includes classroom training modules that have geoscience fundamentals, Earth systems information, because we're targeting the International Space Station crew Earth observations, but also planetary science and mission content, because we know the astronauts do go out on public appearances, and they need to know something about the planetary missions that are already underway. We do field mapping, and we've been doing this pretty extensively for the past 3 classes that include a focus on geological mapping, interpreting those maps, making observations, and traverse planning. We also do introduce them to sampling and instrumentation. And finally, we fold in expeditionary components, including team experiences and leadership opportunities. Our second phase, proficiency training, occurs after the crews have received their basic astronaut candidacy training. They've been in the field, they know how to map. They may engage in specific training for the International Space Station. There may be opportunities to participate in analog missions. This is science under operational constraints. There will be advanced field opportunities, including astronaut field assistantships with colleagues who have funded research activities in the field, and then operational tests and training facilities. And you've heard about that a little bit from both Adam and from Jose. And finally, there's the phase 3 assigned crew training that is going to be our future focus and really take a lot of our time and energy starting now, including advanced classroom instructions, facility-based mission simulations, and extensive field experiences, really based again on the Apollo model. So if we go to the next slide, please. So, over the past 10 years, we want to talk a little bit about what we've been doing. We have built a robust geoscience and field training curriculum provided to the new astronaut classes. And I mentioned before, this has been done for 3 classes. And I have to do a call out because others that aren't included in this particular presentation, most specifically Dean Epler, really helped to get this kicked off in the late 2000s so that we would be ready for the 2009 class. So we've been building on that ever since. And this does include increased field work for new classes, 2 weeks in the field with a focus on mapping. We have tightly integrated Earth and Planetary Science classroom and field training, so one segues to the other, and we have capstone exercises. And finally, as I mentioned, we do have the integrated mission relevance by partnering with the NASA operational psychologists, including the spaceflight resource management elements. We have established the process for the field assistantships for the trained crew to maintain the proficiency. We also have been, until Corona, offering on the cadence of about 2 times a year field mapping classes for the engineering community, including spacesuit engineers and the tool engineers and the flight operators and managers, as an introduction to what it means to do operations on a planetary surface. And finally, again, we have been continuing several operational test series with integrated crew, scientists, engineer participations at the JSC facilities like Adam and Jose have already talked about. Next, please. So this is our notional training schedule. And in red is, or in pink is our phase 1 training. We did train the 2017 class, and this is our baseline for our model. We're preparing right now for the class that we believe will come in early 2022. And then we're bookkeeping a future class sometime in the later 2000s. We are continuing the science team training for the support engineers and managers throughout the period. In yellow, we have planned advanced field opportunities for the whole 10-year period. Again, there's been big gaps because of the COVID shutdowns. Crew Earth observation, however, has been ongoing, as have the operational tests. And finally, what we're doing right now, those operational tests are segueing into potential Artemis training operations for the early Artemis missions, and we're planning that content now. And that will continue for the later flights, and that will then segue into notional schedules, into mission-specific training. And again, these are all notional schedules. Next, please. So then looking ahead, so we're going to continue to address all of the community findings from the different reports, including the science definition team and the GATSAT. We're going to continue to build the partnerships with the crew and the EVA training offices, and the broader flight operations community. This is pretty important. We're developing funding requests for the basic science and science operational training for the FY22 through 27 timeframe through the NASA budgeting process, and that is really important for us to be able to have the budget to be able to do this. We are assessing relevant astronaut experience within the whole of the crew office for developing the Artemis science content. And we want to report out right now that the majority of the crew have been through the astronaut candidate training with 1 or more weeks of field experience. Many have participated in proficiency activities, either in analog exercises or the operational testing or field assistance. And many of the crew, the bulk of the crew, has been to the station, so they have a basic understanding of how do you observe a planet. And they understand the Earth geography and planetary processes and the importance of those observations. Next slide, please. So we want to continue by fully integrating our phased approach to crew training based on the EVA model with the FOD Artemis training plans, including multi-year training schedule with FOD that integrates the planetary and the field science with the EVA operations training, leading to integrated simulations, including the basic lunar and planetary science that can be provided to the pre-assigned crew, targeting a subset of basic training for the Artemis support team, including the flight directors and operation engineers, identifying relevant field training and locations required for logistics for basic training and simulations, and then continuing the operational testing. So, by way of sort of wrapping up, we just want you to know that we do have a lot of work going forward, but we haven't been standing still. We're building this framework, the relationships with headquarters, both HEO and SMD, the engineers and the ops teams, and we're developing these integrated plans. We're continuing with the GFE, the government furnished equipment, hardware development, and the operational testing that's going to support the detailed lunar science and field training for the Artemis astronauts. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Cindy, for that excellent update.